All right, how's everybody doing? Jim Ventura here. Time for a new YouTube video. I want to talk today about something that I think a lot of people are becoming very, very aware of. So I'm going to kind of kill two birds with one stone here, so to speak. That's a horrible expression. Anyway, but you get the point. I talk a little bit of basic astrology in this, but I don't want to lose that so much to really just explain the basic premise of what I want to discuss today. So, quick astrology snippet first. If you look at an astrology natal chart, and this, by the way, is all about relationship versus not being a relationship. This is what we're getting at here. So if you look at an astrology chart, when you're born, there's what's known as a north node and south node of the moon in your natal chart. And in a simple kind of nutshell, the north node kind of represents where you're going during the lifetime, what's going to probably benefit you, where you're heading. And the south node kind of represents like what you're coming from. Sometimes it can be a little bit the garbage dump, meaning where you have to be careful that you don't slip into old patterns. So the theory would be, past lifetime stuff that you might be carrying through that needs to be transformed, but may still include talents, abilities, or aspects of yourself that are of some value. South node, and then versus a north node where you're going, where the energy is going to take you to kind of the best possible place for where you can manifest your most emotional success and awareness and kind of healthiness. And if you look in an astrology chart, this is what the north node of the moon typically tends to look like in a basic astrology chart. The south node would just look like that. So I kind of sometimes call it the horseshoe. A lot of astrology charts, they won't draw the south node in the charts on different programs. But just know this, it's always exactly opposite the north node. So if your north node natally is in, like mine, where it's in Gemini, your south node is automatically going to be in Sagittarius, the sign that's directly opposite it. Okay, so in an astrology chart, those are the themes that you're dealing with during a lifetime that you're looking at. Another interesting side note to this is sometimes your most difficult karma can be with people that are connected with your south node. So especially if those are in relationship houses like the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, sometimes even the 11th, that can be where there's some karma. Okay, so that being said, now also then we have what are known as just transit cycles, where the nodes continue to move. So it takes about 19 years for the nodes to move through all the signs. So that's about a year and a half in each sign. So right now, the north node of the moon is in Aries and the south node is in Libra. Okay, so now let's stepping away from the astrology aspect of this and just explaining it in human language. What does that mean? So just as a society, as a people, this is what larger transits can do. They kind of get us thinking and analyzing and looking at attributes of things we may have valued emotionally. So Libra represents, partnership, relationship, being cooperative, being balanced, working things through, using charm, art, beauty, Libra things to navigate effectively. But think of it a large part as about relationship energy. Where Aries is more about independence, being unique, being different, marching to the beat of your own drum, carving out your own path and your own trail. So right now, the transiting moon nodes are, again, north node is in Aries, south node is in Libra. So what this is doing, in just a generalized way, is it's making a lot of people contemplate being single versus being in a relationship. And, you can see this as a kind of a strain in society. There are more people single now, especially in the U.S., than probably ever before, statistically. People are really questioning the value of marriage and partnerships in its traditional sense. Now, this doesn't mean it's ever going to go away. People will always value this to some extent. But you can see this kind of energy, this movement that's happening for a lot of people really, really contemplating this element of their lives. Another element that you can see with this is, it's good to use Libra energy to be cooperative, to keep things balanced and harmonious. But for a lot of us, it's contemplating where we might be bending over backwards to try to please others and losing ourselves in the process. So this is something that's interesting that the South Node can bring us forward to examine. during a transit. And, you know, where we are maybe being too submissive. Again, where we're kind of trying to please others and try to keep things peaceful as possible. And we may be losing that dynamic edge that is often represented by the energy of Aries. So, you know, being Aries as a sun sign or as a strong attribute in your astrology chart doesn't mean in any way that you're required to be single and you don't have Libra energy. Astrology, of course, is more complicated than that. But it highlights the positive side of Aries about, you know, it okay to go it alone sometimes. And listen, in a larger picture, we come in the world alone and we're going to leave this world alone. So while it's natural for people to look to find a mate, I think it's important to also value the times when you're single or you are on your own. Because again, you know, unless you're gonna have like you're gonna be with someone for like 60 years and then, you know, die in a rocking chair together having a mutual heart attack or something like that. The truth is, you know, even if you have a spouse or a mate, there's a good chance you will have a period where you're not partnered up. So it's a good reminder to value those times. That, you know, success doesn't necessarily lie in that you have to find a mate in order to be successful during a lifetime. We shouldn't necessarily run away from it either. It may be part of what's, you know, part of our life path. But that's a lot about what's going on both in society and for a lot of us to kind of re-examine. So this is an interesting thing about how South Node transits show some real insight. Now, if those are in your natal chart to begin with, this is going to be already kind of a strong theme of examining independence versus partnership. But for everyone, that's what these types of transits do. They really kind of get us thinking. So yeah, you know, one place is not necessarily better than another. Great things in being partnered and being alone sometimes can be amazing. Especially if you can find a blend where you can be with someone and then have some alone time too. I think that's the ultimate thing that people can eventually figure out. But so a little discussion about the South and North Node of the Moon. Wanted to mention something real quick. I published a couple of books a couple of years ago. This is my, I do a column called Snake Oil. You can email me to get added to my mailing list to get that free of charge 6 times a year in your inbox. Wonderful artist who designed this cover for me. And she also did a book I self-published like 20 years ago called Dirty Little Secrets. This is I call this my kid book. I wrote this when I was in my 30s, and it's still an awesome book, even though some of the stuff I'd have to disagree with. But it's mostly really wonderful storytelling, and there's still some great stories in that book. I just was of a younger mindset. Anyway, those books can be found on Amazon if anyone's interested in them and getting a copy. And anyway, all right, till next time, happy immersion into the fall, my favorite time of year. Until next time, cheers to Ventura.